My name is Chris Kelly, and today I'm going to teach you about Lev Vygotsky's social development theory. Now, Lev Vygotsky was a Russian psychologist in the early 1900s, and he believed that social interaction was a crucial part of cognitive development. And just in case you're wondering what cognitive development is simply the emergence of the ability to think and understand. Now, his theories stress the fundamental role of social interaction in the development of cognition. And his work has become one of the foundations of research and theory in cognitive development over the past several decades, particularly in what we've now become known as the social development theory. Now, the first big piece of Vygotsky's work is something called a more knowledgeable other, or MKO. Now, an MKO is anyone who has a better understanding or higher ability of tasks, processes, or concepts than the learner does. What I would like to do right now is I would just like us to make a quick list of some people who we could consider some common MKOs. So what I'm going to do is give you about 20 seconds to come up with your own list, and then we'll go over one I made. So why don't you go ahead and do that. Now, hopefully you had enough time to make your list, and we're going to go through one that I made earlier. The first thing that I came up with was a teacher. Obviously, it's part of a teacher's job to develop students' understanding, so it's a very common one that you may have chosen. The next one I came up with was a parent. Now, you spend most of the time with your parents, and they have a huge part in your cognitive development, so that's why I have them on here as one of my MKOs. Any other elder, your grandparents, your parents' friends, anybody else who may influence your cognitive development or be a more knowledgeable other that helps you learn. I came up with siblings, brothers, sisters, whether they be older or younger, they may have something to teach you. You may be able to learn something from them. And then our peers. A lot of times just being around friends, we learn things that we may not have known because they're more knowledgeable in certain places than we are. And the last one I have is technology, and this is one that you may not have had. Technology, especially in today's day and age, is used a lot as a more knowledgeable other. We spend time on the internet researching things. There's all kinds of iPhone and iPad apps that people use to learn new information. And so that's why technology is used a lot today as a more knowledgeable other. What I would like you to do now is see if you're able to think of a situation where you may have a more knowledgeable other that is actually younger than you. And I know this one may be a little bit more difficult, but I'm going to give you about 20 seconds to do so. And then I'm going to give you an example of how I had a more knowledgeable other that was actually younger than me. Go ahead and get started. Now, I hope you were able to come up with one where you had a situation where you had a more knowledgeable other younger than you. Now, my situation where I had a more knowledgeable other younger than me is that I recently switched from using BlackBerry to using an iPhone. When I first started using the iPhone, I was really confused. I didn't know how to use different things on it, and it actually took one of my wrestlers who had been using the iPhones for a while to be able to teach me new things. And they were quite a bit younger than me, but they were able to show me all the different little tricks and different features that I could do on my iPhone. So that's a way that I had someone younger than me teach me something. Now, I bet a lot of you who were able to come up with situations had situations that had to do with technology. And this is because of the fact that our youth today grows up immersed in technology, and so they're actually usually more of an expert on technology than we are. So that's how we can actually have them teach us stuff. Now, the second thing that was really big with Vygotsky is something that was known as a zone of proximal development. Now, what a zone of proximal development is, it's an important concept that relates the difference between what children can already do on their own and what children need to achieve using guidance or encouragement from someone who is more skilled than they are. And what I have here is I have a little chart of what the zone of proximal development is. On the left side, we have what the child already knows, something that is known, something they may have learned in the past. And all the way on the right side, we have stuff that is not known. Okay? Now that may be something that they don't quite have the ability to know yet, or something that they need to be able to know later. What the zone of proximal development is skills or knowledge that currently is too difficult for the child to master on their own, but that could be done with guidance and encouragement from a more knowledgeable person, which would be someone that we would consider a more knowledgeable other. Now, what this does is directly ties our zone of proximal development and more knowledgeable others together. Students who are currently in the zone of proximal development in our classrooms are in need of a more knowledgeable other to help them achieve success. What I would like you to do is I would like you to make a quick list of ways that you could apply the zone of proximal development and more knowledgeable others to your classroom. I'll give you about 20 seconds to do so, and then I'm going to show you a list that I made earlier. The first thing that I put on my list when I was making it is demonstrations from a teacher. And this is probably the thing that I use the most of in my classroom. I'm in a mathematics classroom. And I show students how to do problems, and then I hopefully can have them do them on their own. So demonstration from a teacher is a very good way of using a more knowledgeable other, which would be yourself, to show the students what to do. The second thing I came up with was guided practice. Now, guided practice is a little different than demonstration in the fact that the student is attempting to do a problem and you're just guiding them through it. It's not you just completely showing them how to do the problem, it's more you guys working on it together. But it still involves that more knowledgeable other to take them through the zone of proximal development. Then I came up with heterogeneous peer groups. Now, this is when you take students who are able to do tasks and mix them with students who might not be able to do the same task. This way, the student who has a higher understanding or higher skill level can in turn teach those who do not and bring them up to that higher level and take them through the zone of proximal development. Then I came up with scaffolding. And this is more of a building process, but what you're doing is you're taking bits of knowledge and you're slowly building on stuff as opposed to trying to take them from one basic task to something more difficult. We can scaffold the information and take them up to the next level. And finally, I was able to come up with reciprocal teaching. Now this is an interesting one in where the students themselves become the more knowledgeable other. They are able to summarize and ask questions, and they are able to actually become the more knowledgeable other on a certain situation. And that's very powerful to both the student becoming the more knowledgeable other, as well as it is to the other students who they are being able to teach to. Now, our assignment for today that I would like you to do, I would like you to consider your subject area and what would be the most effective way for you to apply these principles to your own classroom. Now, I already told you the way I apply it most in my classroom is through demonstration. Why do you feel that that method that you choose would be the most effective for you? And then, how often do you think that this method should be applied in your classroom? If you would like to continue to learn more about Vygotsky and his theories, I have developed a list of websites that you can go to learn more about Vygotsky himself, as well as his social development theories.